Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Checks and Balances TV. Today's program is entitled, In Like a Lion, Out Like a Lamb. Don't get the wool pulled over your eyes by a bad financial advisor. So let's see how today's news may impact your financial future. Texas financier R. Allen Stanford was convicted last week of running a $7 billion Ponzi scheme. He was found guilty on 13 of 14 criminal counts, including fraud, conspiracy, and obstructing an investigation by the Securities and Exchange Commission. As a result, he could be sentenced for up to 200 years in prison for the scam he perpetrated. Yet the likelihood of his victims receiving any restitution for their financial losses remains very doubtful. Okay, so what's really going on here? Let's check the facts using our checks and balances process. On February 17, 2009, federal authorities raided the offices of Sanford Financial Group, claiming that billions of dollars in customer funds were missing. Allen Stanford's firm had been under investigation for consistently advertising higher than market returns on their investments. The SEC charged Stanford for heading up a massive Ponzi scheme, misappropriating billions of dollars of investors' money, and falsifying bank records at his own bank, Sanford International Bank, to hide his fraud. He was found guilty on March 6th of orchestrating this scam, which took in more than $7 billion over a 20-year period from investors who bought certificates of deposits, or CDs, from his bank on the Caribbean island nation of Antigua. It was the high rates of return that first caught the eyes of the investigators, who deemed those rates too high for such a low-risk investment. The advertised returns on Stanford CDs were as high as 16.5% in the 1990s, and prior to his arrest in February 2009, his firm was offering a 4.5% annual return. Most other banks at the time were only offering 1.5% return for a one-year CD. Prosecutors at the trial argued that Stanford had been defrauding investors for years, which provided him with a lavish VIP lifestyle. Investors thought their money was safely invested in CDs at an offshore bank, when in fact, their money was being spent on luxury homes, yachts, and jets, as well as a cricket team. At the conclusion of the 7-week trial, prosecutors asked jurors to allow federal authorities to seize $330 million from nearly 30 accounts controlled by the convicted Texas tycoon. However, Stanford's attorney countered, saying it can't be proven that all of the money in these accounts come from Stanford's investors. If the jury decides the money can be traced back to CD depositor funds, federal authorities will then attempt to seize the money that's been frozen in Stanford's Swiss, British, and Canadian bank accounts. However, the process of liquidating these accounts could take years, and the total amount of money in these banks only equates to millions, not billions, and would not come even close to fully repaying the more than 28,000 victims. Okay. So now that we've checked the facts, let's balance this news using our checks and balances process to determine what action you should take today. Allen Stanford lied to his investors about his fictional CD rates for more than 20 years before he got caught. Or did he? The SEC identified Stanford as a serious risk 15 years ago, only 2 years after the Sanford Group company had registered as an investment advisor. The SEC was also warned by others that Stanford was running a Ponzi scheme on 2 separate occasions, yet they chose to do nothing about it. Stanford was even sued in 2006 by a former employee in a whistleblower suit. The employee claimed that he was fired after he began asking probing questions about Stanford Financial's business model and how exactly the company earned its revenue. The employee claimed in court documents that Sanford Financial was operating a Ponzi or pyramid scheme in which money was laundered into its offshore bank and then used to finance its growing brokerage business, which did not have any profits of its own. Another employee made a similar allegation and later filed a lawsuit in Texas. Ken Springer, president of a business investigations firm and co-author of Digging for Disclosure, Tactics for Protecting Your Firm's Assets from Swindlers, Scammers, and Imposters, recently compiled a list of questionable activities that were found in Stanford's background. Had potential investors done their own background investigation before investing their money with Stanford, they would have found a number of red flags, including the 2 separate lawsuits filed by former employees. They would have also found that in 2005, a group of investors sued Stanford, claiming that he was in fact running a Ponzi scheme. And in 2007 and 2008, Stanford was fined over $70,000 by FINRA for misrepresenting facts about the company's CDs, and was accused of varying degrees of fraud in 7 separate arbitration matters filed with FINRA between 2001 and 2006. All of this information was sitting in the public domain and available to anybody willing to take a little extra time to investigate this money manager before handing over their hard-earned cash. Okay, so what's the bottom line here? This case reminds us of the importance in gathering information about money managers and their products before making a decision to invest a dime with them. Had an investor looked briefly into Stanford's prior record or questioned his uncommonly high returns on the CDs he was offering, they likely would have found a few red flags themselves. This also serves as a reminder that no investment is completely safe, especially an offshore bank-issued CD. You must read all the fine print, do your homework, and be a skeptical investor today. We've all heard it said before, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, and it usually is. You would expect, though, our government investigators to do a better job of protecting investors from scammers like Stanford. But they clearly dropped the ball with Bernie Madoff and his $65 billion Ponzi scheme, and now they dropped the ball here again with Stanford's $7 billion Ponzi scheme. So who knows who will be next? So do all you can to protect what you have. Saying no, by the way, to 10 good investment opportunities is much better and safer than saying yes to just one bad one. So do your homework and don't get the wool pulled over your eyes by a bad financial advisor. And now for Matt's weekly financial tip, tool, or technique. You work hard for your money, and you should take great care to only entrust it to an honest, experienced financial professional, one who has your best interest at heart. So here are 3 of the most important questions you should ask a financial advisor before doing business with them. Question number 1, what standard are your financial recommendations held to? When dealing with investment professionals, there are 2 kinds of rules they may be held to: fiduciary and suitability. Fiduciary rules hold financial professionals liable in the event a considerable amount of a client's portfolio is lost under their supervision. They must act in the client's best interest at all times. Suitability rules, on the other hand, only hold professionals to a limited liability for the outcome and performance of an investment. Question number 2, can you describe your ideal client to me? This question is the best way to see if a financial professional is a good fit for you. Their answer might give you clues as to whether or not they can handle your specific financial needs. And it's a lot better to find out if your prospective advisor is a good fit or not before they begin to handle your investments. And question number 3 is, who has custody of my accounts? Most advisors typically use well-recognized custodial firms to hold custody of clients' investment accounts, like TD Ameritrade, Pershing, or a brokerage firm, and many, many others. Advisors who hold custody of your accounts directly may be able to act without your permission, and even liquidate your account without you ever knowing about it. By understanding which rules and standards your advisor is held to, who their ideal client is, and who maintains custody of your money will help you to select the right financial advisor for you. Be sure to log on to our website and download our featured report, 10 questions to ask your financial advisor before investing a dime with them. A free report that gives you the information you need to help you find a financial advisor who will act in your best interest. And finally, remember that only you can control your financial future. You can succeed. You just need confidence and determination. I'm Matthew J. Reddick from Checks and Balances TV. Until next week, dump debt, invest wisely, believe in yourself, and make it happen.